Hello, guys, and welcome to a new episode of the F1 podcast. As today we're going to preview the Miami Grand Prix, as Formula One is finally back after a long month without racing. Obviously, there was reasons for that. Obviously the cancellation of the races in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. And there's a lot of things happen, as we mentioned in the last episode. GP leaving, Red Bull going to McLaren, rules changes and everything else. But this is the weekend where finally we're going to talk about real racing, and real racing will happen this weekend in Miami. And I have my good friend Muhammad. How are you? Yeah, I'm good, thank you. This is Miami Grand Prix. It's a sprint weekend. It's a weekend that has many variables that could be very interesting. As not only it's a sprint weekend, it's also a practice session. First practice session will be 90 minutes. So obviously the rules changes and so else. What do you think of this weekend in Miami Grand Prix? The potential things that could happen, and what are you excited for? Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. And not only those new regulation changes, the first race in those changes as they made during the month without racing. It's also the first race in those regs were in the rain, where obviously things, the three races in Australia, China, Japan, where there were not much really rain, where this will be the first rain, could be the first rain where in those regs were with the rain. So how do you think this is gonna impact the drivers and the teams on that aspect? And that not only there's new rules changes, but also those rule changes will happen in the rain, in the conditions they never tested before. How do you think it's going to impact the drivers and the teams? Mhm. Okay, I think everybody sees this as interesting. Um, You talk. We obviously last episode we in F1 podcast we talked about the rules changes, and of course that is not going to be fixed everything. And even the driver said it yesterday in the press conference. But do you think like those rules changes should for sure be a step forward in terms of obviously safety reasons, safety concerns, as obviously we saw the crash in Berman in Japan, and also drivers able to go on the limit, to go push flat out in their qualifying laps. That should make a step forward in that regard. It's not fix everything, of course, but it should make a step forward, right? Why do you think there will be no much changes in the race? Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree that it should it should not fix everything, of course. However, I do expect a step forward in terms of, let's say, the qualifying, because sometimes the drivers in the qualifying, and as they complained in the interviews, that when it's not when you drive when you go for a qualifying lap, it's not normal. This year is not normal compared to the past seasons. The past seasons you go float out, you go push out, etc. Whereas this year it's almost like you have to manage other things while you're doing a lap, which sometimes can hinder your quality. So the rules changes should avoid that aspect, and for sure it should improve in terms of safety concerns. We saw obviously I know I mentioned it, but again, the Berman crash in Japan, that should you know this kind of high speed moments where it leads to a crash, it should avoid that and make it happen less in the future. But other than that, I don't think it should fix much in terms of racing. I hope the race starts doesn't get fixed, because again, there's no need to fix it. It's been very. I think it's been very. Uh, yeah, Ferrari. Mm. Hmm. I kind of understand what you're saying in terms of, like, let's say the race starts being changed, but in my opinion, if you look at the rules changes that they are saying they made, it does look like the race starts is going to be changed. But again, it's difficult to say. We have to see it in the race, and then we can give a clear judgment on that. But if it does change, if it's not as unpredictable as it is in the first three races and the sprint in China, yeah, of course, like teams like Ferrari are going to be disappointed about it, and teams like Mercedes are going to be, let's say, happy about it because, even though they won all the races, their starts have been absolutely dreadful. Whereas McLaren, obviously they had a good start in Japan, but as you said, I think they should be fine with it regardless of this change, because I think that they're well equipped to adapt to different situations. Now, let's move on to the team's expectations. What do you expect from them ahead of this race weekend? The likes of, obviously, the big teams, McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari. Right now, you have to say Mercedes are the favorites to win this race. But of course, McLaren are going to get better. They showed that in Japan, and for sure this weekend they're going to get better with the upgrades that are coming in. Ferrari, I expect them to be up there in the race, but not much in qualifying. So, how do you see this weekend panning out between those, especially those three teams for the battle for the win? Yeah, agree. We have to wait and see. I think McLaren for sure should be very, very strong this weekend. How strong they are compared to Mercedes, that's another story. But for sure, I expect them to be very strong this weekend. It's the same track where obviously it helped to start the rise in 2024 when Lando Norris won that race in Miami. And yes, you could say he got a bit lucky with the safety car, but before that, Oscar Piastri was doing really, really well. I think he was, at some point he was second, and then Lando, he had the clean air, he was brilliant. Yeah, he had a bit of luck, but then after that he was brilliant with the pace and managed to keep Verstappen behind. And also last year, where McLaren obviously dominated, they won against everybody else like over 40 seconds, I believe, where Piastri and Lando had won too. So I do expect McLaren to be very strong this weekend. How strong they are compared to Mercedes, that's another story. Yeah, go on. Go on.